Hello and welcome everyone. We are live with Agustin and Juan from Decentraland. My name is Aaron van Ammers. I'm CTO and founding partner of Outlier Ventures. We run these Tech Tuesday events, and with us is also Moritz Barna. I'll ask you guys to very briefly introduce yourself before we'll go into a short presentation from our end, and then we'll go into hopefully lots of demos from your side. So to start off, Agus.
Hi, well, my name is Agustin. I go by Mendez inside Decentraland because we are several Aguses, and I'm the head of engineer for the foundation, and that's me.
Great, Juan?
Okay, my name is Juan Cazalá. I've been working around Decentraland for the past 3 years, and I work mostly on dApp-related projects, for instance, the marketplace, the builder, and other kind of dApps that we had before, like Agora. So yeah, everything dApp-related, I probably touched it.
Excellent, thanks. Mudit?
Yeah, my name is Mudit. I work for Outlier as the technology analyst, and I work with multiple blockchains, and I've been playing around in Decentraland for a while and been very excited to sort of get to know more.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
All right. Very welcome. Great to have you. So I'll start off with a very brief presentation. Metaverse, virtual worlds, what's it all about? Of course, we start with a beautiful disclaimer. None of this is investment advice, even though we might talk about lots of financial assets and instruments. So short history of virtual worlds. I have to, of course, start off with a shameless plug. We run an accelerator called Basecamp, where we help teams in DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse be really successful and get them to the next stage. We're almost reaching the deadline for our next cohort. So if you're building something amazing in that area, or even in the Decentraland, do apply. I did some digging. Apparently, people were building 3D virtual worlds that were online already in 1995. This is pretty impressive. I wasn't there, haven't looked at it, but for 1995 standards, this seems pretty awesome that you could already have a world where you move around online, meet lots of people, and chat with them. But of course, we've gone a long way since then. Second Life, also quite famous in its day, where it even got some serious traction from large companies building their presence there. It had their in-game or in-world currency called Linden dollars. It started to look pretty much like an actual virtual world where people just would go around and hang out. I don't think it's still alive, but the people have been building some open source clones of it. But it's like the first one. It's a closed virtual world set up by one company building that out, and people can join there. Now, Entropia Universe was another interesting one. I did play this a bit myself at that day, like getting the ideas. Okay, you have in-game commodities. You can sort of work to get some to get some compensation for farming or killing animals, or I don't know what. Pretty funny. Oh, somebody says that Second Life is typically 30K online, 30K people still very much alive. That's great. Great to hear. Thanks. Oh, and by the way, if anyone has questions for the guys from Centerland or for us, please use the Ask a Question button on the bottom at Crowdcast. We'll just post it in the chat, and we'll try to get it. And once people ask questions, you can also vote for them, so that the highest ranking questions, we can give those the most attention. So yeah, Entropia Universe was also pretty cool, and it was the first case that I remember that people started paying serious money for virtual assets. There was this case where I think somebody bought a spaceship for over $100,000, and in 2007, before there was any crypto, that was quite a lot of money. Still is, I guess, but I was one of the first cases where that became really perceivably valuable in real world terms, not just in in-game terms. And these days, with Fortnite and various other virtual worlds, there's huge usage and traction of these type of applications, and with very lively economies, like Fortnite skins, for example, it's billions per year are being spent there. But still, they're all closed worlds. They're operated by a single company that controls these things. That might have issues with other companies, such as the case of Apple taking Fortnite out of the Apple Store. That's another thing. But bottom line, it's all being closed and controlled by a single entity. So what about open virtual worlds? Can't we do this open? Can't we do this like blockchains, like decentralized systems? Open these up so that they're collectively owned, that they're existent on systems that are censorship resistant, that are permanent. Well, of course you can, but it's not easy. There's this shout out that I wanted to make. Somebody built this thing called Ethereum. This was Ethereum DEFCON 1 time, so in the Stone Age, for Ethereum terms. But this was a fully on-chain virtual world. Now, as you know, smart contracts are quite limited in the amount of compute that they can do, and they're very expensive. So of course, you couldn't do anything really sophisticated here. Telling example was that the guy who built it, he tried to build a horse, but before he could build a hat, he hit the gas limit at that time, because for every block that he would put here, he would have his physics rules that would check, can I put this block on top of another? And then very soon you would run into the gas limit. So proof of concept, but not very successful yet. But of course, there's Decentraland, who you guys really took this many steps further. This is a screenshot from the early days that I actually remember somehow ending up there and having a look. I remember that I could jump on those little stairs there and thinking, maybe this could lead to somewhere. But it was mostly an empty space besides this and the head of Vitalik and Peter Frog as a sort of an honorary statue. But it's come a long way since then. So Decentraland right now is, a really impressive place, I could say, space. There's so much going on there. There's so many buildings. There are, many actual people walking around. Well, hopefully there are people. Well, there's voice chat, so you can actually hear there was that there are people. And there's art galleries, there's event spaces, there's events being organized, and there's games, there's collaboration spaces. So yeah, it's really exciting to see what's happening there. This is one example of our founder of Outlier Ventures, Jamie Burke, who initiated the 100x Art collective. They built a district in Decentraland with many art galleries from that group. Then there's quite a few similar ones of other groups of artists. There's this casino. I played some roulette this morning, only with play tokens. I'm 100 plus in my play tokens, but alas, not in real money. But the experience is pretty good. It's just it works well. I didn't need any explanation, and I could play. And there's quite a lot of games like that coming on. Now a bit about open source, because we as Outlier Ventures, it's our job to accelerate startups in this world and take them to the next level. And one part of what we do there is sort of continuously scan the ecosystem for the technologies that are being built, like core blockchain technologies, like DeFi protocols and NFT projects and services. And in our latest reports on development trends, where we analyze open source activity, we also looked at that specific category. So not only the layer 1 blockchains and DeFi protocols, but also NFT and metaverse projects. Interestingly, there wasn't a lot of open source activity in NFT land. So a lot of people are issuing NFTs, and okay, the contracts of course are public because you have to do it open source, even though some people don't even do that. But that's of course the open part. But then things like marketplaces or applications behind that are quite a lot are actually closed source, and the same for other open or somewhat open virtual worlds like Somnium, like Crypto Voxels and Sandbox. They have a lot of open activity, but not a lot of open source development. So what we saw was that what you see here is the commit volume. It's not a perfect metric. We can talk about that. We won't do that here, but it is a metric. The commit volume per week of these projects overall, their public repositories on GitHub. And this blue line is Decentraland, and it's around 100 weekly commits. That's sort of the continuous volume with a bit of peak at the beginning of 2020. And compared to the likes of Axie Infinity, Crypto Voxels, Engine, and OpenSea, who are all here on the bottom, that's it's really an outlier. And the other ones like Sandbox and Somnium, they were not even on the charts in that respect. And compared to what you see on the right, I know it's not perfectly visible, but these are steady performance in the blockchain layer 1 category. So projects like I think I have to zoom in, but Oasis, Dash, Zilliqa, Zcash, the Graph, they're all kind of having an amount of open source activity around that mark. So it's really impressive that Decentraland is at that level of open source activity, and the same comparisons to some of the major DeFi protocols. Then the final note from our side, what we did recently was revise our investment thesis to look towards how does all this metaverse, this virtual worlds, open virtual worlds, somewhat closed virtual worlds, how do these come together? What role do NFTs play in there? What role does DeFi play in there? And things like decentralized storage and compute as sort of the powering engines to make all of this possible. And how do these worlds interconnect? So one thing we came up with was this anatomy of a virtual world, which is sort of a model, a lens to look at, how a virtual world. So you could say, okay, I'm going to look at Fortnite through this lens. So how does Fortnite do its end user software and hardware? How do the in-world assets work? And what are the rules? What is possible? What is not possible? And what from here in Fortnite can I take out? And what can I not take out? What is sort of closed in that world? And in the case of Fortnite, the answer is pretty much everything is locked in there and nothing you can take out. Now, if you look and apply this to Decentraland, that of course, that's a very different picture, because the space is NFTs, you can take it out. The objects, the avatars, the currency is mana, it's an on-chain token. And a user identity, again, it's an on-chain entity and an ENS name. So there's something that we found useful to look at these types of virtual worlds, and then to take that one step further, which you see here is what if you would see different virtual worlds? So imagine that this left one is Decentraland, this middle one is Crypto Voxels, and the last one would be Fortnite. Could you have objects or spaces or currencies, financial instruments that can extend through multiple virtual worlds? Well, in the case of things like fungible tokens, so money, you would already have that if they're on-chain tokens. Instead of things of NFTs, your wearables, your objects, your buildings, theoretically you could have that. It's already, they exist outside of Decentraland. I don't know of cases where they are also sort of visible or navigable or usable in other worlds, but theoretically there's no reason why they couldn't. And you can imagine as this technology evolves and these communities evolve and the world evolves, you can get more and more of these blue bars interconnecting them, where they become sort of one single open metaverse with interchangeable objects and types of value, and even shared rules or different rules in open systems. All right, that was my setting the stage. I'm gonna hand over to Agus and Juan for showing us more from their side.
Cool, thank you. Great intro.
Thank you.
Well, I think we could start showing Decentraland for those that didn't
Definitely.
see it yet.
Yeah.
Sure. Let me share my screen if you want.
Okay, so brief introduction about how Decentraland works. We wanted to reduce the entry barrier for our users as much as we can. So we decided to start building it inside the browser. So if you want to join Decentraland and play around, you can go to play.decentraland.org. That is what you're seeing in the screen. And you're in. That's Decentraland.
Yeah. What we're seeing right now on my screen, this is Genesis. This is the map of Decentraland. Every square that you see here, it's what we call a parcel, and Decentraland is comprised of around 90,000 parcels. Each of them is represented as an NFT on the Ethereum blockchain, and they are all owned by somebody at this point. All the land has been auctioned, and most of the land is owned by the community. Some of it is owned by the Decentraland DAO, like the public spaces, for example, the plazas and the roads. And the DAO is managed by the mana holders, basically. And this is what you see when you jump inside the Decentraland. I'm standing on a road right next to some building. Everything that you see on a parcel was published there by its owner. So basically all the content that you are seeing here, all the models, etc., is hosted on community-owned infrastructure that we call catalysts. These catalysts are managed by the Decentraland DAO, how many we have and how we add them or remove them. And there are many projects here on Decentraland, like they were, like you guys were talking about earlier, like the casino. We have the plazas to go and visit. There are museums, art galleries, and all of this has been built by the community. We make tools to make the life easier for users to generate content. We have the builder, for instance, that is a web-based tool that users can use to basically generate content for their parcels. Let me see if I can open this really quick. And it's like an easy-to-use editor. You just drag and drop and configure stuff for interactivity, for instance. But let me see if, yeah. As you can see, you can just drag and drop stuff around. If something has interactivity, you can, or if something is configurable, you can configure it from here, and then you can just publish it to your land. And for people more tech-savvy or programmers, we have an SDK which you can use to create way more complex stuff, like for example the casinos, and all of those are built.
Cool. Yeah, and the builder you're showing now, it shows a building that's on a parcel of land that you yourself own. So that's why you were able to adapt it and then redeploy it on your parcel, right?
Right. Sorry, I lost you guys. I don't know where did I live.
We're still here. We're still here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
You're probably in one of the browser tabs.
Yeah, but basically this is what I wanted to show. Just a quick intro to the Decentraland world and some of the tools that we have. From here, I guess, you can continue.
I have one question from what you said. You described all of the objects that we saw and the buildings and the programmability. It's on community-owned infrastructure. So where is that actual data stored? Like, the textures and how they come together, and how does that get loaded to when I open play.decentraland.org? How does it come to my screen?
Okay.
So
I can take.
Okay, you want to take it out?
Okay. Yes. So as Juanca was saying, we have these catalyst servers that are managed by the DAO and owned by the community. Those servers synchronize with each other. And once you deploy anything to one of the catalyst servers, they synchronize and the content is spread, of course. Once you enter play.decentraland.org, there is an algorithm that decides based on the amount of users in each of the registered catalysts it decides in which catalyst you are going to connect to. And then it pulls the information from there. You connect directly to the community servers.
Right. And so you said those are operated by the DAO. So can anyone run a node and then sort of say, hey, DAO, I'm running this. Do you want to also add these to the active set of nodes, or how does that work?
That's exactly how it works.
Yeah,
Cool.
you will create a proposal to add your catalyst to the list of catalysts, and if it passes, you're part of the network.
Right. A related question for someone in the chat. How many people can be connected at the same time? I guess the answer is, or related currently, what is it currently, and what do you think the architecture is capable of?
Okay, so there are multiple dimensions to this question. One is what the catalyst can handle, and the catalyst, we don't have an upper bound yet. We didn't found it. But since Decentraland runs inside the browser, I like to think that people, Google, Firefox, they run stress tests using Decentraland because what we are doing inside the browser is insane. And rendering the avatars and so much people moving and doing things around, that is our upper bound right now. In big events that have been happening in the past weeks, in the past months inside the Decentraland, we've been seeing like 60 to 80 people without problems, but the FPS in the same place and at the same time. But the catalysts are not only divided logically by server, but they have something we call layers. So there are like multiple dimensions inside the same server where people can be load balanced, let's say, inside the same server.
Right. Yeah. So in the like the 100x art district that I showed, that's a physical space, and you could have 60 people there walking around you, and the upper bound would then mainly be determined by their respective browsers, because they would have to render all those people and get the continuous streams of, well, this person now walked there and this person now walked there, and then those kind of things. And you could maybe have an event on a parcel beside it with another 60 people or so, and they might be on the same Catalyst server, they might be on different Catalyst servers, and that gets a little balanced. Yeah.
Yes, that is how it works.
Nice. And just because I'll just quickly pull up this diagram, and then I'll hand over screen sharing to you again. Because from this anatomy perspective, like how we see it, like what you described, the bottleneck then is mostly on the end user software and hardware. It's their browser running it and getting all that information from the Catalyst servers. And the Catalyst servers would live here, the software backend and the hardware infrastructure. And what you describe is that basically how that's organized and governed is through the DAO, where once someone says, well, I have on this, I'm running the Catalyst server, I'm running it here, I'm really good at operating this kind of infrastructures. Here's a proposal, please add me. And then for their hardware infrastructure, would they be able to choose anything they want? Run on the cloud, run on premise, run in their backyard?
Yes.
If they have high availability in their backyard, then
yeah.
they might.
We think that eventually, if somebody runs a Catalyst in their garage, and if the performance is not good, and they are part of the DAO, because you can run a Catalyst for you don't need to be part of the DAO. The only thing is that people won't connect automatically, but you can run it. If the performance is not good compared to others, probably the DAO will vote to remove you from the list.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Stop my share. I can go after you.
Okay, something to add, Juan?
No, okay, you can go on.
I can share another part of Decentraland. What Juan shown was the easy way to create inside Decentraland from the browser, but we created the builder to fill the world with content, because there was a chicken and the egg problem, because we created a world, we created an SDK, but it was completely empty. So the builder's main objective at the beginning was to fill the world with content with a low entry barrier. Then we had the SDK. I'm not sharing, aren't I?
Not currently.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the SDK, which is code. And we are going to talk about the programmability layer a little bit now. I made this step before, just in case it didn't work. But if you run DCL init in a folder, it will create you this folder structure. And in this folder structure, you have code for the scenes. What we are seeing here is TypeScript. All the scenes are created in TypeScript for Decentraland. Even the builder creates code before you deploy. And this is the base scene that you can test in your computer with DCL start. What it does is to create a tiny Catalyst server in your computer. And you're running the same exact code that is in play.decentraland in your computer for testing. And it has all the things you may expect from the modern development lifecycle of JavaScript, like hot reloading. So once it loads, it loaded. This is Decentraland.
We got a cube.
Yeah, we have a cube. Yeah. and this cube is rotating because we have a rotator system that I'm going to show you. And if you click it, it changes size. And every time you click it, it spawns another cube somewhere. That is the behavior we expect. The cube has a non-click component that changes the scale, as you can see, and then it spawns another cube.
Yeah, with slightly random dimensions. Exactly.
And this is a very, very basic example, but from inside the SDK, you can do way much more stuff, like an entire casino, or there has been a very interesting community creation called the Infinity Engine. As Juanca was saying, the world is composed by parcels, and every parcel only can spawn objects inside of the parcel. If you go outside, you can see it in the preview, but it disappears in the real world as you're playing. Those are the limitations. The Infinity Engine was like, if you have seen Star Trek, it is like a warp drive, because you are still in a place and they move worlds around you. So they create clouds, horses, and things moving around you to give you the impression that you are in an open, big world, but you are still inside a train attacking things. So they wrapped the SDK to remove the limitations of space in a legal way, a very legal way.
Right. So they legal in the sense that it respects the rules of Decentraland, yet it gets results that look like wouldn't be possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Legal in terms of the scene limitations, let's say.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
Of course, you also have all the blockchain primitives to use. You can sign meta transactions. You can validate addresses and use almost everything you need from Web3 from inside the scene.
Yeah, and so this code and any like graphics that you might add to your scene, that gets, I guess, wrapped into something that gets deployed, and that lives on IPFS, I guess. Or like, where's that data stored, and how is it exchanged between these Catalyst servers? Okay, so the data lives in content servers, we call them that way, inside the Catalyst servers, which happen to use the IPFS hashes
to make it easier if we want to redistribute the files using IPFS. The first part you said, yes. Everything you add, the models, the texture, sounds, the code itself gets packaged and uploaded to the Catalyst.
Right. And so that the current set of catalysts that basically guarantees the data availability of all that's currently in Decentraland. And when something new gets added, it gets deployed to some of the servers, it stays there, and when new servers come online, they replicate maybe some of it. So you're not dependent on sort of people voluntarily running IPFS nodes and making that available an hour in the future, but that set of catalyst nodes which stays available and runs it.
Yeah. We don't use the IPFS network, but we do use some of the technology from IPFS.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Maybe we can take up some questions because we have quite a lot of them already, and move on to other things that you would like to show as we go. Benjamin asked any input on how a platform like Decentraland will affect film festivals. They're designing the Decentraland Film Society, but yeah, like have you seen things with regard to films? Have people created cinemas in Decentraland already? Where they watch movies together, or what have you seen there, and what's possible, of course?
Yes, there is a folk in Discord that likes to watch movies inside Decentraland. They prefer to watch inside Decentraland with friends rather than in just a player. So yes, there are cinemas, and at least one person prefers it to VLC.
Also, I remember when it was the I don't know what was the name of but the Elon Musk's rocket, that the big well, everybody was watching it online. Back then it was the beginning of the COVID and all that stuff. Everybody was locked down, so a lot of people gathered to watch it on the Centerline. It was a lot of fun. I remember that it was one of the first times I watched something inside the Decentraland with a lot of people, and it felt way better than just watching it on YouTube.
So can you just put what kind of video streams can you show in the Decentraland? Like what are the possibilities and limitations?
There is a size limit in the deployment of the scenes. So I don't think you can upload a very huge video, but if you have another way to stream content, there is a component in the SDK that allows you to stream from somewhere else.
So that's what people would do, of course, for live events in any case. And then you could show the Twitter stream or the YouTube stream, or just has to be a URL, or
well, you hit the nail with YouTube and Twitch because they are like walled gardens, and we cannot integrate with them that easy, even though we tried. But if you use open video protocols, that definitely works.
And I guess somebody could watch YouTube, capture it in OBS, and then stream that to the Decentraland.
Yeah, that is
maybe without too much quality loss. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. There was a question that was also answered, but it would be good to learn a bit more about that. Can you attack people and take their stuff like in real life? And the reason I ask is because it talks to like what are the it really comes down to the rules, the mechanics of the world, what's possible and what's not possible, and maybe extended to that, like have you seen like any behavior of people that's you would think, well, would it need some policing or vandalism, or but starting off with, can your stuff be stolen?
Well, I mean, if they are asking, because I'm reading the comments and people are asking about a 51% attack.
No, that was mostly about voting, but it was before that.
I mean, if they mean steal your stuff by changing the rules on the contracts, by voting, for instance, to change the rules, we still have, the DAO still has something else called the Security Advisory Board, which is a group of guardians that are in charge of the security of certain parts of the protocol that can veto something like that if it happened. So and like an extra layer of security on top of the DAO, if that was the concern from what I understand.
Well, I mean, I guess the concern started off more simply because in the real world, if I see a thing, I can take it and run away with it. In Decentraland, I can probably not. I cannot, push your building off your parcel to mine. So I guess those are the rules in place, and then the layer on top of that is indeed like who determines the rules. Well, the DAO does. So could you, through a voting attack, change the rules? Well, ultimately you could, but then you need 51 or more % of the voting mana, and that becomes pretty expensive to execute. And
and on top of that is the Security Advisory Board that has veto power on top of it, which it's managed by the DAO.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there is a form of sort of emergency police. That we fair to say? DAO operated emergency police. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Are there plans for having NFT animals roaming around as well? Or other types of creatures, agents, robots?
There's Ethereum, which is a project building on top of Decentraland.
What is that called? Sorry?
It was called Ethereum. I think now it's just Ethereum without the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is like a Pokemon on the blockchain. But I don't know if that's what you were asking about. But
yeah, well, I would. The question was, are there plans for having NFT animals? But if I had to explain it, Ethermon. Yeah, thanks for posting that. Like in general, when I walk around in Decentraland, like I don't do it daily, but I have sometimes. I see people walking around, or at least they look like people, look like avatars. I haven't seen like non-people that are actually interactive, that have agency, that go around, that do things, that and I think the one point out there, theoretically, could you do that by just spawning an avatar and putting a script behind it? But then also, is there more directed, like, are you facilitating that or want to facilitate it, that people could have, you could actually design something that looks like a dog, that is programmable with, what you showed with your scene tooling, but then the dog could walk around over different parcels and bark every now and then. Could you say a bit more about it?
There is an interesting project that appeared in the comments called Manimals. You can search them in Twitter, and they are creating like mascots or animal companions that follow you in the metaverse. To answer the original question, probably Decentraland focus is not to create these kind of experiences, but it is to make sure that the protocols are in place so people can create it. So these Manimals folks are not associated with us, but they are creating it inside Decentraland using our protocols.
Yeah, and so they have. I'm definitely going to look into that, by the way. So they allow you to have something that looks different from an avatar, but that it does go around with you. But and you guys, as as Decentraland, the foundation and the building protocol, you would need to make some specific things possible, I guess, to do that, because otherwise, from a scene, for example, you wouldn't be able to do it because you can only influence what's inside that scene, like you described.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks. Someone asked how long till the local client launches. Is there a local client in the works? When local client? There is one. There is one in the works. Then we don't need to say any timelines.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Let's leave it with that. Yeah.
The answer is yes.
Yeah. Great. The answer is yes. Well, I guess that's satisfactory. It's much better than no.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Let me just pause here. We have 18 more questions, so I can go on for a long time. But maybe there were other things that you would really like to show to the audience.
I think that's all with our demos. We prefer to answer more questions and try to explain how Decentraland works.
Yeah, great. Definitely. So there's a few questions going on around censorship, illegal content or content that would be considered illegal in some jurisdictions. Of course, this is a generic concern for publishers on the internet in any case, but for decentralized networks specifically, because the moment you say unstoppable applications, the moment you say permanent storage, of course, people ask, well, if I have something illegal, would you want that to be permanently stored, or would you want that to be unstoppable? But yeah, it would be good to hear like what things in Decentraland you are doing or specifically not doing. Like, what's your philosophy towards that?
Okay, so we cannot serve using our domains nor store any illegal information. We don't want Decentraland to become the next Onion network, of course. So whenever we detect something that we consider harmful or illegal, we choose to not serve it from our servers and to manually delete it.
Yeah, and when you say we, that is the DAO, or is that individual Catalyst operators, or how does that process go about?
When I say we, I'm talking about the Catalyst owned by the foundation, operated by the foundation, not the community Catalysts, because we have no access, no domain on those. Yeah. But the foundation needs to persist in time, and we cannot do something that is harmful for the foundation. So in the Decentraland.org domains, we cannot have that content.
Yeah. No, and I was just listening to the interview that Jamie Burke, founder of Outlier Ventures, did on Founders of Web3 podcast with Sam from Arweave, where Arweave is about the perma-web, all about this, storing stuff permanently forever and always, where of course very much the same questions. What they do is pretty similar to what you described, is that any operator of a node can choose, well, I will not serve this content, and everything still works. Like, you can still participate in the protocol, in the network. You can serve requests that like you can abide by the rules, yet still not serve that content that you have marked as I don't want to store this. So in the case of Decentraland, some Catalyst operators might want to serve content that others not. That's content that is legal in their jurisdiction, but illegal in another, or that they think is good and other things are bad. And then I understand it's still the system as a whole still works. And so then would it, like, as a user, it would depend on what Catalyst server I end up with, whether I would see it or not, I guess.
Yeah. Also, we have some mechanisms in place, for instance, for aggressive names or violent names or stuff like that. They can be banned from the DAO by voting. Also, users can block other users if they find them offensive. And we have one implementation hosted of the client on the Decentraland domain, but it's open source, so basically anybody can just publish a new front end, point it to their own catalyst, and host whatever they want. But since it's open source and it's pretty much ready to do that. From our domains, we need to take care of what we post.
Yeah. On that note, have there been any full forks of Decentraland that you know of? Because theoretically, you could take it all, right? You could take the catalyst, change it. You could deploy a different token. You could take the front end, deploy it, and make something that kind of works like Decentraland, but is entirely different. Are people doing that, or?
Not that we are aware of. That would be nice to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Also, it has so many parts, more than maybe just a token, that it's smart contracts along this. Is also infrastructure and other pieces. But there's, I mean, I've seen some of our dApps get modified by the community to serve some other purposes, but always around Decentraland, not as a fork, but maybe to enhance the current applications. Also, there was a time that there was an alternative client that could at least let you walk around and maybe without dynamic content, but it lets you explore the Decentraland. The funny thing it was public before our client was public. So
somebody got impatient.
Yeah. So. Yeah, because the data was there, it was public, it wasn't the blockchain, so somebody did it.
Yeah.
I know that those things, it's great to see that happening. That's one of the greatest things of working on open source and so close to the community.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I saw James saying in the comments, forking Decentraland will be hard, and that seems to be like, if you compare it to a DeFi protocol, DeFi protocol in simple terms would be take the contracts, deploy them, take the front end, put it up somewhere, and off you go. I'll put a new food image on, and off you go. Of course, it's a bit harder than that, but surely Decentraland will be several steps harder because there are so many more moving parts. And I guess also it's almost one of a kind, right? There aren't any fully open virtual worlds that people can sort of have experience with and see, okay, this works like that, and this is how I fork it.
Yeah. I don't know about forking it, but maybe like having another alternative clients or modified clients would be so I would love to see that happening.
Yeah, I'm interested in that as well, because ultimately that's you could have you could have an alternate client that tries to do the same, but better, faster, whatever, on different hardware, on an Xbox, whatever. But you could also have implementations that deliberately try to be different. Like I've joked about Decentraland dark mode. Just everything that Decentraland is, but it's dark, or everything is purple, or people could do that, right? That'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, but the core mechanics about for instance, the size of the land shouldn't be changed, because probably won't work. All the deployments won't match when you see them in an alternative client that changes the size of the land. Talking about the size of the land, it was a votation in the Agora dApp, which was previous to the DAO. The community decided that they wanted it this size. Probably changes in protocol should be honored, but if you want an alternative client that changes the colors, that will be okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm waiting for the Decentraland dark mode or the Decentraland pink. That'll be exciting to see. And I see someone in the comments, Abriel, saying there are people already running a private Decentraland. So I don't know if you know any, but apparently people are doing it.
We want to know more.
It's the intranet of virtual worlds. But yeah, they want to know more. Please connect to Abriel. Cool. Right, we have a new number one question. Can you say a few words about Matic Polygon blockchain integration in Decentraland? Somebody wants to claim their NFTs for free.
We're working on it.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
Okay, great.
Sooner than the native client.
Yeah, actually, all the developments that are being around Polygon. All the technical decisions are open source, and in our architecture decision records in GitHub is Decentraland/ADR. You can see the plans there about the contracts, the breaches, and what is being built by the contributors.
Great. Yeah, if someone could write that link in the comments, that'd be swell. Cool. Yeah, somebody's asking, how can I get some land now without paying a fortune to a current holder in the marketplace?
Well, the market is the market.
The answer is no.
The market is the market, and there is not much we can do about it. But there are mechanisms to list land.
You're getting some background noise. I don't know who's it coming from. Yeah, thanks.
There are some mechanisms driven by the community to list land. So you can rent a land if you want.
Yeah.
There is a short-term solution if you don't want or cannot pay a full price of land.
Also, as Gabriel is saying, the best way of earning land, of having land, is earning it, winning it on a game jam. I would encourage people to do that.
Yeah. Great. I have, I guess, what will be the final question as we approach the end of the hour. Towards wallets, signing transactions, and where you see that go in the future. And let me unpack that a bit, because another question that I would ask is a VR client. I'm not going to ask that because you already said the local client is somewhere in the works, and then maybe at some point we'll have a VR client as well. Don't need to talk about it that much, but it is important for that aspect, I think, because now it's great. You can walk around in Centerland, you can see an artwork on the wall, and you can interact with it, and it shows you a little window that says, "Hey, go to OpenSea," and then you can buy it. And then I click, but then I'm outside the Decentraland experience, right? And it's very much dependent on that 2D browser interaction, where I am actually here with the mouse going around, and I also I can confirm a transaction on my MetaMask pop-up or my Wallet Connect, whatever's connected, or my Trezor or my Ledger wallet that's sitting in front of me. Can you say a bit more about what your plans there, or options or things that you think about to make that a more integrated experience? Because if you think of this as a VR experience, I don't want when I'm in VR at some point, going about and I see that artwork, I don't really want to take my helmet off, take my controllers off to click on the website to start bidding, right? So yeah, we'd be good to hear some of your thoughts.
Okay. We try so hard to avoid people having to sign things. So when you log into Decentraland, you only need to sign what we call an ephemeral key.
Yeah.
We generate out of nothing a new key for you, a new private key and a new public key, and you sign that key. And then the servers, the catalyst of Decentraland, can validate the certificate authority, like in web certificates, of that signature, and it has a validity. So we use, whenever we can, that ephemeral key to authenticate you, to make sure that the requests to the servers are valid. In blockchain interactions, there is no much way around it. You must sign with your private key. Either it is a hardware wallet, a software wallet, MetaMask.
But what we are, so some of the efforts that we're doing on L2, on Matic, for instance, is to also bring meta transactions, since they are way cheaper. And they can be subsidized up to a certain point by the DAO. So that would make, you still have to sign something, but at least you won't have to pay for it. And it's going to be way faster, since Matic has super fast confirmation times. So yeah, that's the direction we're going.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess for this the VR experience that might exist in some point in the future, I guess somebody has to build a hardware wallet that fits in your controller and is activated by a fingerprint, because that would ultimately something would be required for you to confirm, in that experience, if it's not your MetaMask click button or whatever it is. Yeah.
There are also alternatives. I don't think Decentraland would evolve in the future to a wallet. If we happen to do, if Decentraland happens to evolve into a native client, it won't handle keys. It is not the objective, but there are alternatives like Wallet Connect. You can use any other wallet with a QR code, and it would work with an experience that you trust and you already know.
Yeah, definitely. We actually had Pedro from Wallet Connect on 2 weeks ago on Tech Tuesday. So really good to see what's possible there. So, and I can totally see that be integrated. Yeah. Cool. All right. I'm just looking at the time. We're at the end of the hour. So yeah, I mean, guys, thanks a lot. I had a blast. We had 19 more questions, so I guess we're gonna have to have a second edition sometime. People are obviously very interested to hear about this. So yeah, thanks a lot for coming on today and for all the good work that you're doing at Decentraland. And of course, for anybody listening, we run the Basecamp Accelerator. So if you're building things in Decentraland, on Decentraland, with Decentraland, we want to hear from you. I'll post the link in the chat.
Cool. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.